I'm a gun nut.
That's how you're going to keep your property.
That's right. And the minute the gun shows, they now all know me. I don't look like your typical gun nut. USA is the only country with defined private property rights. How many people, and I remember as a child when the wall came down in Russia and we sent businessmen over, oh, by the way, Putin and all them took off the military and put on a suit. Same people.
That's right.
They just changed out of the military. You're in the sin. You military men, you put on a suit. Have you changed? Has your training changed? No, just heads up. So how many people know that Russia is just doing great? They're just bursting. No, because they taught them everything but rights to private property. The government kept all the property. Surprise, surprise. Okay. And this is all Dr. Kaufman, and it's from his, I don't have it printed out, but I can email you. It is amazing. It's called Why Private Property Exists and Why It's Important. It's an amazing piece of paper, and this is where I'm getting this from. If all countries had defined private property rights, and you think about it, how many people, and everybody knows a wealthy person that went to another country and bought some land, and then they come back 6 months, a year later, whatever, they're like, well, we got some problems, there's this blah, 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 and this is not working, and there's some kind of lien. Well, that's because us Americans are so used to going and buying property, like basically we could buy something in tomorrow. So we don't think that there's issues over there. But there's huge black market issues because they don't have defined property rights, and then they end up not having their property. That's dead capital because those people can't access their private property. That's why you have black markets and then people that go over there and buy it, and then there's always a complication. Do you know what that dead capital is worth if they could access their private property? It's in the trillions. And it's worth every stock exchange in the world. That's the Dow, that's the NASDAQ, that's the S&P, and it's the Housing, the DAC, all of them. Trillions of dollars. Now here's the next thing that just blew me away. He said, Tori, if they could access their dead capital and leverage it and use it like we do, we wouldn't have to give a dime in foreign aid. Because they have their own money. Hello? Wow. Isn't that mind-blowing? It's by design. It's not oopsie-daisy. It's by design. It's called The Mystery of Capital by Hernando de Soto. And if you want, if you email me and put, I want the private property thing by Dr. Kaufman or the map guide, I'll make sure you get it. Okay, why private property is the key? Why it's so important? Why did capitalism fail in the other nations? Because they don't have defined property rights, like Russia. The common denominator was the lack of legal private property. In the USA, private property is bought and leveraged and sold quickly. In other nations, it takes decades. It's never registered, has no legal asset value in the black market. Now, I just put this in there because this blows people away. This came from the thing I just quoted by Hernando de Soto, Mystery of Capital. I'm just going to throw some numbers out there. It's going to blow you away. In the Philippines, now you think that's a pretty, democratic, it's not really communist when you think about it. In the Philippines, it requires 168 bureaucratic steps, 58 agencies, and 13 to 25 years. Yeah, how you like them apples? In Haiti, requires 106 bureaucratic steps in 19 years. Yeah, you want to know why they're a poverty hole? Yeah. Really. In Peru, and you kind of think Peru's okay, 728 steps, 52 government offices, that's stage 1. Stage 2 is 207 steps and 52 offices, government offices. So obviously, we have it lucky. So do you now see why we're having a war on private property? Okay. They have to have it, it's got to go. It's what your EPA is doing with all the regulations. Somebody buys a land and, oopsie-daisy, that's a wetland because a bird peed on it 2 minutes ago. Redistribute the wealth means redistribute poverty to all. When he says social justice for all, let me explain what that means in Marxism. It is unfair that we have homes. We have mostly single-family homes, whoever wants them. It is unfair that we average 1 car per household. It is unfair that we can go to a grocery store and buy what we want. We aren't walking with a bucket on our head for miles for water to wash our laundry and drink in. That is unfair. So we must have justice for all. So we can't give them us. So we've got to bring them here. Got it? Yeah. Okay, that's what that means. They said, how are we going to do this? We can't show up Victoria's store saying I'm taking your property because I am going to meet them with a shotgun at least. Okay, so they said, what can we do? They decide to do it through the movement of your environmentalists, your tree huggers, whatever you want to call it. I personally call it egoism. Just like fascism and communism, Nazism, whatever you want to ism call it, that's what it is, environmentalism. Save the Earth. I'm 45 years old, didn't grow up with Save the Earth Day. I'll give you 10 points if you can tell me the man who made a legislation and put it in that we should save the Earth Day, and it became like a presidency.
Marty Prince.
He also said he, what did he call it? Discovered or created the internet.
Oh.
Big Al.
Oh, yeah, Gore.
Al Gore. And this is one of my props, Agenda 21 legislation. Anyone's welcome to look at it. It's over 500 pages from 1988 to 2011. And the first few pages where I've got in and highlighted, this is where I found Al Gore put in Earth Day. How surprising. Okay, Earth Day. Save the Earth, Mother Earth, Earth Day. Has anybody heard of pantheism?
Yep.
Some of the older people understand what pantheism is. That's the worship of nature. Okay, just to let you know, and y'all know this, it's against the Bible directly, Genesis 1:26. Okay. It's just, ugh, okay. Here's the next thing he said that blew me away. I consider myself pretty intelligent. He being Dr. Kaufman, map maker. What's the difference between an ecologist and an environmentalist? Yeah, it's pretty easy. You'd think you kind of know the answer, but I really couldn't give him one. Yeah, I really didn't know. He said, let me explain it to you. Ecologist has at least 4-year degree. Most have a master's. A lot of them have a doctorate. I have a doctorate. I'm a PhD. I'm an ecologist, and I use data. You know, data books, you plot, you have data. I use scientific data to do my research. I said, okay. He goes, environmentalist uses emotion and no data. And all of a sudden I went, oh my God. Because we're all kind of programmed to think an environmentalist is like an ecologist. Now you want to put that tinfoil hat on me. Let's bring it on home. And this is what I say. The next thing these environmentalists came up with is the precautionary principle. Now this is going to sound crazy. This is what we must do because it could happen. Now you think that's kind of crazy.
No, we got the Muscle Shoals things with our Chattahoochee River down there and we have no water.
Let me give you a few examples. How many people, especially some military guys, but I would do a lot because I'm on the water at Mayport and Kings Bay nuclear base, remember the sonar is hurting dolphins and whales. Okay. Only because it was the military, and thank God not commercial fishermen with sonar. The military men got up and screamed and said, we want the data. Couldn't provide it. That was simply a technique for Greenpeace, who's under this branch, and everybody else, environmentalists, ecoisms, the fascism, communism people, to disarm our military. That's what that was about, to totally disarm the military. I was giving this speech Saturday morning in Jacksonville, and a man raised his hand and said, she's absolutely right. I was a sonar technician during that time, and we demanded the data and we could not get it. That was totally to render us defenseless. Okay? So my next example is, how many people are fishermen? Probably not here, in the lake maybe, but there's something called catch shares about red snapper in our ocean and black sea bass. And what that does is it limits not only our commercial fishermen, but our recreational fishermen about the fish they can catch. They're shutting down left and right. We can't even catch red snapper, and they're 25 plus pounds now. And they're eating all the other fish. Well, now they're trying to do legislation to stop our fishermen, recreational and commercial, to stop catching 19 different types of fish in case they catch a red snapper. So we gotta prevent the 19 different kinds. Now this sounds crazy. Okay, let me tell you what that's really about. That's shutting down income for commercial fishermen, and it's shutting down food supply. Okay.
Control.
Now, you still think I'm crazy, I'm gonna give you one more example.
We think you're the sanest thing we've heard in a long time.
So I try to really relate it, because then when people have examples, they understand. It's harder. I'm chiseling that tinfoil hat off. Okay. This is when I stopped speaking about gold and silver, and I started immediately teaching on food storage. I'm from a farming family in Thomasville, Metcalfe, Georgia. I've picked soybeans, I've been on a combine, I've picked cotton, I've shelled peas till my fingers bled. I get tobacco, I get farming. And I'm going to screw it up, and somebody in here please correct me, it's my dyslexia and I can't ever get it right. There is a valley in California, the San Juanin, Queenan, there you go, Joaquin. I don't know why I have a mental block against that. They shut it down due to a bait fish that's a minnow that you can go to the bait shop to get called a Delta smelt. And here it is in '09. The economy is horrible. They shut down farmers. I mean, this is like massive. GDP of California is #1 in the country. Their #1 category of production is fruit and vegetables, and that is a huge fruit and vegetable, and that's going to start affecting us this summer because it happened in '09. They couldn't begin, if you know anything about farming, if they shut on the water today, it will take them 3 years to nourish it because it's a dust fall. What that is doing, it shut down income in '09 when we desperately need jobs and GDP and exports and imports, and it shut down food supply. Over a bait fish? Really? Okay. Think about that. So, exactly. Okay. So now we've got our head around ecoism versus environmentalism. We have our head around why private property is so important, why we must defend it, and how it builds wealth, okay? Now we're going to talk about individual rights versus collective. When you hear the word collective, I need your brain to go communism, community, collective. Okay, now, once again, this is just something we just need to make sure we're all on the same page. The United States of America, by our Constitution, is built on the platform of individual rights. Most people will say, yes, I know that. But when they really drill down, you go, well, what does that mean? They can't give you an answer. So here are your 3 hardcore answers. You were born with rights, period. Got it? You're born with it. No Constitution gives it to you, no government, you're born with it. Number 2, this will blow you away. Government exists to protect those rights.
Yes.
Does that sound like our government?
No.
Okay. That's very scary, isn't it? Yes. Number 3, you and the product of your labor belongs to who? You. Got it. Okay, that's individual rights. The UN believes in community rights or collective rights. Collective is the sugar that makes the medicine go down, like socialism is the medicine that makes communism. Collective means communism, period. Okay? The government grants and restricts all your rights, and they can withdraw them. The community needs to come before the individual needs or rights, and you and your labor belong to the community, i.e. the government. Okay, how many know that the Pilgrims almost died because they were doing collective community farming? And one man finally said, we ain't doing this anymore. Farmer Brown, you get to plant and eat, and then you get to plant and eat, and may the best survive. Okay? So, never works. Never works. Oh, by the way, the economies that we really have out there that we think communism, like China and North Korea, they're really not. They're really fascism. And the difference is in communism, the only true one we have is Cuba, and the Cuban Americans schooled me on this. They said, you're using the wrong word. It's not communism. I'm like, what? Because it's fascism. I'm like, what? They schooled me that night that I spoke before they asked me, and they said, communism we only really have in Cuba, and that's when the government owns everything and controls everything, and it's a pile of dirt and you can't do anything. That's communism. But in China and North Korea, they moved out of communism and they went into fascism, where they allow you to work and they allow you to have a little, but they still have control, and you kind of know where your limits are, and you can't really preach out, and you're taxed to death, so you can't really get too wealthy. So you know how I explain it? The Democrats are communists and the Republicans are fascists. That's why we now have a left wing and a right wing of a bird. It's no longer an eagle, it's a vulture. That's why things aren't working out with those Republicans who own the House, and we have 1,000+ days with still no budget. They haven't impeached the Holder or the judges unconstitutionally. They haven't defunded, which, by the way, the House controls all funding.
Yes.
They haven't defunded Obamacare, and they told Obama very bravely that they weren't going to fund the most horrible four czars pay, and Obama went tough toenails, and they crawled back into their potted plant and sat there. So you tell me what the Republicans are doing. The big voter guide that I have, if you email me, I will send it to you. It's very easy. You can spread it to your friends. Vote them all out, including judges.
Yep.
Everyone,
Yep.
Republican and Democrat, except for maybe Rand Paul.
What was that called? The big voter?
I'm being sarcastic. My voter guide, my voter guide that I'll send you says vote them all out,
Yeah, okay.
including all the judges, every sitting judge that
You'll
you,
send us that?
that you have in your state. You need to vote out. They're all voting against the Constitution. They're promoting a liberal agenda.
And all of their seats are up for grabs
Correct.
in November.
Vote them all out.
All mine.
Every sitting person, vote them all out. Everyone. The Agenda 21 has 3 E's, 3 circles. You'd see it on my PowerPoint, 3 E's. Well, that really means a lot. But what this means is environment, and it means nature before man. Now, 10 points, if you can tell me the czar that said animals should have the rights to sue humans. Remember that? And I went, that's a kook. Put it in the kook file. Guys, we're the kooks because we didn't know what we were dealing with. That's what we're dealing with. It was John Holder. Most people say Cass Sunstein because he's real evil too. He's for sterilization. You go, well, that's not right. Nature before man, it's actually nature above man. That's against exactly the Bible. Genesis 1:26, man shall have dominion over the land and all the earth. Once again, Delta Smelt, this is an example most people know about. The microscopic organism shut down not only our food supply, but our income and our jobs till we desperately needed it in 09. So yeah, how many people remember the spotted owl?
Yeah.
That was devised, I mean, we didn't create the spotted owl, but we created the danger of the spotted owl to shut down the timber industry. Okay? Endangered Species Act is created solely by the UN to take away our private property. I heard Trump screaming. Every Tuesday he calls in to Squawk Box on CNBC, and I watch the stock market. And he was screaming. I wish I had recorded it. Everything was Agenda 21. He didn't realize it. We're not building bridges. Are you looking at China? China's building bridges. People don't even know we're in poverty yet. You know, we're not building bridges because there's a damn lizard below where we're supposed to build, and we can't build because there's a lizard. And I'm screaming Agenda 21. But Trump doesn't know it. Yeah. Equity. Equity. Everybody in this room is equal. In a way, yes. We're all born, and we're born with the right to go out and do. But are we all equal? No. Whether it's our wealth, whether it's what we want to do in life, anything. But under this, you're all equal. There is no such thing as individualism. There is no such thing as you get to excel and your neighbor doesn't. That's what damn near killed the Pilgrims. Okay? Collectivism, communism, community, okay, versus individualism. Social justice for all. No individual rights, all done for the good of the collective. That is what is happening in our school system. I didn't know that because I didn't have children. And all of a sudden, we did a bell curve, I remember, which was the start of it, but now nobody gets to fail. You know, we all get, graded the same grade. Every child left behind, okay? Race to the bottom.
They work in teams.
In teams? Yeah, who cares? Why should we pull a team? It should be you. This is why our children are failing. And I actually heard out of the Obama administration, well, we need to have illegals because Americans can't do the jobs. Well, it's exactly right. That's by design.
Right.